the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined again by Nima and Carlo, who was ill last week, but he's back and he's raring to go. On today's show, we will review the weekend Serie A action. Juventus hit a new low with an embarrassing draw at home against relegated Salernitana, but they did qualify for the Champions League thanks to a Charles De Ketelaere inspired Atalanta, who continued their own brilliant form with a 2-1 win over Roma, and Roma are now in danger of missing out on the Champions League. Bologna, though, have also clinched a historic Champions League qualification after winning 2-0 at Napoli, and Napoli now risk missing Europe altogether. Lazio keep their pressure on the top six by beating Empoli, and champions Inter thrash Frosinone. Milan also thrash Cagliari 5-1 to clinch second place for the season. And all the teams at the bottom pretty much lost this weekend. So the relegation race remains very exciting going into the last 2 weeks. We'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. And we will preview the Coppa Italia final between Atalanta and Juventus on Wednesday. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month, plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price and same terms. For all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. We're also on YouTube as well, so subscribe to us there. It all really helps us to grow and do more quality content. Okay, so let's get into today's show. So some big matches at the top of the table, especially for the Champions League race. And there's only one place to start, and that is the big Atalanta against Roma Champions League showdown on Sunday evening in Bergamo. Atalanta win 2-1. We'll start off by discussing this from the Atalanta point of view. It's been a fantastic last week for Atalanta, winning first, thrashing Marseille and playing outstanding in that game to get into their first European final and in their history, and then beating Roma 2-1 on Sunday to put 1 foot in the Champions League next season. And I thought in this game, Nima, that Atalanta were brilliant in this game for the first 2/3 of the game. They should have been 5 or 6 up. They were only 2 up, and then Roma got a goal back from a pretty soft penalty, and then Atalanta got a little bit nervous and they risked even equalising. But I mean, if we look at the game, the first 2/3 of this game, I mean, Atalanta played as well as I've seen them play all season. They put on an absolute clinic and just confirmed them just what an outstanding end to the season that Atalanta are having.
Yes, and but it's also, for me, I'm looking forward to the Europa League final, and this is what I'm scared of. This is exactly what I'm scared of. What you saw against Roma, what you saw against Marseille to a certain extent in the first half as well. They dominate teams completely, and they should be 4-5 up, but they're not. They're only 1 or 2 goals up. And against a team of Bayer Leverkusen's quality, that could harm them. Roma are too tired and too exhausted mentally, physically, to be able to muster any real challenge at this point in the season, and I think we saw that also in this game. So there are the warning signs there. That's what I'm a little bit worried about. But if we're looking at just the game in isolation and how they played, especially in the first half, they were outstanding. Again, I mean, this tridente of Lukman, Scamacca, De Ketelaere, and then you got Thun, and then you got Koopmeiners in midfield. I mean, it's ridiculous. They are so good, and they're really, really hitting form in a way that, well, I did not expect them to do this early. And then they've got Ederson, they've got Pasalic, Matteo Ruggeri's playing left wing back now, and he's been outstanding doing so. No, it's really, really looking so good for them. And they, again, what is this? Gasperini's Atalanta 4.0 that he's built. I mean, since he's been there, it's the fourth team he's put together, and he's writing history for the fourth time with them, doing things that we've never seen. That this small provincial side from Bergamo should not be able to do. It should not be possible in this day and age, with the incredible influx of money in football that a side like Atalanta continuously deliver and play this well, and deliver these results, and continue to get the best out of every player they sign. Now De Ketelaere, he's on 9 goals and 6 assists in the Serie A alone this season. He's going to stay. I'm certain of it. And I think he's going to be.
Yeah, De Ketelaere. We have to talk about De Ketelaere because this game confirmed the what Gasperini has done with him in 2024, especially. The people forget actually the first half of the season he wasn't actually very good with Atalanta. It was more of the same with what we'd seen at Milan, and we were almost questioning whether, is this it? De Ketelaere, is he? He's not going to make it to be the player that people.
But that's the same you could say about Scamacca.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Both of them. Well, De Ketelaere started a little bit early. Scamacca's come really hot since March, in the last couple of months. De Ketelaere has been fantastic in 2024. I mean, he's got 15 goal contributions in 2024 in all competitions. I think 9 goals and 6 assists, I believe. And this game, lovely first goal. Mancini will come to Roma, awful defending, but fantastically taken goal, cut inside onto his right foot and then curled it in. His movement and intelligence to find space for the cutback for the second goal. He's such an intelligent player. And Gasperini said that after. He's got very, very high footballing IQ. He knows, where to move, when to pass, when to hold on to the ball, when to just delay the pass before releasing it, so that the person teammate he's passing it to has run into the right position. Like, his spatial awareness is very, very good. He could have had 4 in the first half. He hit the post. He had another shot that went just wide. And he's playing great. And like you said, like with Scamacca as well, Gasperini, what a job he's done, not just in creating these 4 teams, as you said, but also the way that he develops players, but also resurrects players, but maximizes their talents. Like, it's not just players that are young, like a De Ketelaere, but it's also players who are a little bit more further in their career, like mid-career, like Scamacca, or if we go further back, even further in their career, into their kind of late 20s, like Ilicic and like Papu Gomez. And Gasperini is just a master at maximizing
Muriel, Zapata, all these guys.
Yeah, but he's a master at maximizing the potential of these players. Even talking of Scamacca, he didn't score against Roma, but I was just watching he's starting to do things that he just wasn't doing before, just like his movement off the ball and like getting into the right space, coming off his man and then making himself available, like putting himself in positions to receive the ball. I still think he can improve Scamacca, his movement in the box, like when there's chances for a cutback or crosses. I still think his movement there needs to improve, his box movement, because I saw there was one time when Scamacca hit the post and he was looking for the cutback and Scamacca didn't make the right movement. Like, I still think he can improve there, but watching his movement outside the box, making himself available for the team, he's improved so much there, Scamacca, in the last couple of months or so.
And not just that, his link-up movement and his link-up. I mean, you saw that before the first goal, that pass, that assist for De Ketelaere. Sure, there was quite a lot of stuff, quite a lot of work left to do for De Ketelaere. But Scamacca's build-up and his movement to drag players out of position, his ability to time that pass perfectly with players running behind, that is something he didn't used to have, and that's something that I wanted to see.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean by his out of the box kind of movement and work for the team.
Good.
And Spalletti will love that as well, because that's what Spalletti wants in a centre forward. So let's just pray that he can bring that to the Italy national team, because that is exactly what
I have to just say about Gasperini. I know he's not getting any younger, but I'm looking at like where Spalletti is in his career, and I don't think Spalletti wants to just stay in the national team. I think he's going to do a Euros, and I think he's going to do a World Cup. So in 2 years' time, that job will be available. And I can't think of a better way for Gianpiero Gasperini to end his career. He's only 66 now. In 2 years' time, he'll be 68. And I can't think of a better way to thank Gianpiero Gasperini for the last decade, on top of a career well done, than to give him the national team job. Honestly, I really can't think of anyone better, more suited to do that to especially given where Italy are, where you have to make it work with the players you've got, with some players that, building a unit that is better than the sum of its parts, playing an attacking football, trying to modernize Italian football, and and also working with youngsters, getting the best out of what he's got. I really can't think of anyone better to be given.
He's definitely got the right identity, and he's definitely got the right, the way that he wants to play the game is modern, and obviously there are question marks. I mean, his age, he will be 68. I mean, will he still be, what he is now? There's obviously, because there is that question mark. There is the question mark about how he manages kind of bigger stars. We've seen that in the past, but then you probably reply with that and say, well, Italy don't have that many big stars anymore. Certainly not superstars.
Who in the Italy team, like, who's a big star? Like,
yeah. So there's that. There's certainly no Bonucci's or Chiellini's that would reject him. I think the biggest question mark was probably the same question mark we would have for Spalletti. And I guess the question with Spalletti will be answered at the Euros. With a Gasperini, he's somebody that needs to work on the training ground, like Spalletti, to get those movements, those patterns of play. That is so crucial. You don't get that in international football because you're working with them on so few occasions over just don't get that training time with them. And I think there was an interview with Ederson I saw recently where he said it took him 6 months to understand exactly what Gasperini wanted for him. And, Ederson, who's been unbelievable, and he's a player that isn't spoken about enough, about what an incredible player and what an incredible season he's having. He's good enough for any big club, Ederson. He's got everything. He's an amazing player. And, I remember tipping him to be like one of the signings of the season last
I remember,
season.
yeah.
And he was okay, but he wasn't really great, and he wasn't bad, but he just was okay. And then this season, he's just exploded. But that's because it took time for him to understand, Gasperini's system. So there is that concern with Gasperini. But I mean, look at Atalanta now. They've all come together now, haven't they? And right at the right time of the season, they look fresh now. They look physically fresh, which is very impressive because they've been playing. And Gasperini said it, they've been playing twice or 3 times a week, however you want to look at it, since February. They're playing every single Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday.
And that's the thing that I find the most interesting and the most impressive with this is that Gasperini has learnt rotation and he's learnt how to play 3 times a week continuously for months on end, and to get the right level of training, to get the right level of balance mentally, to not to not exhaust the players physically and mentally, and keep them going and hitting towards the end of the season where they need to be hitting form. That's the most impressive. That to me is the hallmark of a great coach. On top of everything else we've said about developing players and getting the best out of young and old players, regardless of the players where they are in their careers, to get them to get the best out of them. That, and also being able to manage that 3 times a week for months on end. That to me is the hallmark of a great coach, and that's
but he's also But also we do also have to praise the Atalanta transfer team, which is the best in Italy, and its scouting department and its use of data, and is so advanced of everyone else in Italy. He has players to use in rotation system. I mean, he's been rotating those attackers, and it almost doesn't matter who plays in attack; they still produce. And he even felt the confidence to bring against Marseille. He brought Scamacca off and somebody else off in like the 56th minute when they were 2-0 up, and like he was so confident with the players he was going to bring on, that they were going to still be good. And that's also part of the rotation. And it's put them in a great position now. I mean, they are very well placed now to qualify for the Champions League. If my maths is correct, I think they need 3 points from their last 3 games to qualify for the Champions League, because they're 3 points ahead of Roma, and they've got a better head-to-head, and they're 4 points ahead of Lazio.
Yeah, they've got a game in hand as well.
And they've got a game in hand as well, and they've got to play Lecce away, Torino at home, and then the rearranged Fiorentina game, which will take place at the end of the season. So even if it comes to that, they'll know what they have to do. So I think it's they should, they're in a very formidable position now. They should qualify for the Champions League now, and they've got Coppa Italia final on Wednesday, and the Europa League final. It's going to be
That's what that's the little thing I'm worried about. That I just don't want them, because I want 6 Italian teams in the Champions League, and that means that if Roma are outside of the top 5, then Atalanta will have to beat Bayer Leverkusen to get 6 teams in, and that's where I'm a little bit worried, because I'm not.
Has that actually been officially confirmed yet? Has that actually officially been confirmed? We've seen people reporting that there's going to be. I haven't seen it officially confirmed that if Roma win.
Well, I have. It is no. Listen, it's like this. Italy have 5 spots because of how well they've performed in Europe. So them and Germany will have 5 teams, right? If you also win the Europa League, and that's been officially confirmed. Patrick spoke to one of the heads.
Yeah, I know about Patrick. I know Patrick spoke to him, but it hasn't been officially confirmed, like, in public.
Well, that is an official confirmation. It's coming from someone inside UEFA who's working in charge of this, saying this is how it works. If you win the Europa League, you go to it's not like it's been in previous years. If you win the Europa League, that spot.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. It's been confirmed in a private conversation between Patrick and. But it hasn't been official. They haven't put out a statement. Official confirmation is when a statement's put out by UEFA that this is how it is. So until that comes out.
Well, no. That's how it is.
I believe Patrick. I'm sure he's right. I'm not saying. But I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying it hasn't officially it hasn't been publicly stated that is.
It has been. If you look at what they've put out in terms of next season and how to interpret the rules and laws of the game, and it's been widely reported in media as well. You can just go on Google. You'll see everywhere from ESPN to Guardian.
I know. I've seen that. I've seen all that. I'm just saying until UEFA put it out, it hasn't been officially confirmed. That's what I'm saying. That's all. But yeah.
Well, no, they've not verbally said it that if you win, no, but they've said how the rules work ahead of next season, and that's how they work. So they don't need to spell it out.
I think they do, because I think it was unclear until recent. It was unclear until recent. Anyway, we're splitting hairs here. Anyway, but the point is that Roma are not going to get in the Champions League at all. They've got no chance of getting in the Champions League unless that's the
thing though, and Atalanta need to win. And I'm really worried about that Bayer Leverkusen game, because I think it would be so beautiful for Atalanta to win in Europe, more than anything. And I'm so concerned. I'm a little bit worried that they'll end up with 0 titles, because I don't think beating Juventus midweek is gonna happen.
Yeah, you have this. What comes to the Coppa Italia final? I love it. I love your. I want to get into your logic on that after. But yeah, listen, their form is fantastic. 1-6, drawn 1 of their last 7. They're playing great, and they are. Yeah, now is the time for them to win the trophy. As for Roma, they really needed to win this game to qualify for the Champions, to try and to have a chance of qualifying for the Champions League through the league. And now, as we said, that they'll need to rely on Atalanta winning the Champions League, and they need to come 6th, which there's no guarantee, because Lazio are only 1 point behind them with 2 games left. And the way Roma are playing now, I mean, Lazio have Inter away, which isn't easy, but obviously Inter are have nothing to play for, and they have Simone Inzaghi, former Lazio manager. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen there. Biscotto time maybe, but I think. Listen, I think Roma. I said it. I called it after that Napoli game over 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I said Roma looked dead. I said it after the Napoli game. They looked like they were dead, and everything that's happened has proved that. They were exhausted against Napoli. They should have lost. They drew. They were exhausted against Leverkusen in the first leg. They lost 2-0. They were exhausted against Juventus, and they were probably lucky to draw that. And then they showed great fight against Leverkusen. They showed mental strength. They battled. But if you actually watch that game, there's no doubt who were the fitter and fresher team. It was Leverkusen. They had about 30 odd shots in that game, and Roma just battled and fought, and
Yeah.
just that was the way that they got themselves into a position where they could have created a miracle there, and then obviously it fell away at the end. And then again, we saw in this game, this wasn't even a match. The first 2/3 of this game, until Roma got the penalty, there was only one team on the pitch. I mean, Roma were so far second best. They should have been 5 or 6-0 down. That's no exaggeration. It was chance after chance after chance. They didn't even get out of their half. They got a penalty out of nothing. And unfortunately, that is the story of Roma at the end of the season. Their season has fallen apart because they're exhausted.
No, there's really nothing more to add to that, to be honest. They really have fallen apart this towards the end, and it's been a pretty difficult season for them. And it's been quite. It's been with the Mourinho situation and all of that happening, and then De Rossi coming in, and then he kind of rejuvenating them, and all of that has happened, and it's kind of taken their toll on them, and it's a team that some players you don't know if they're going to be there, who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, and so on and so forth. So it's I think De Rossi's done the most that he can, and I think what they did against Bayer Leverkusen was heroic, but they showed Svilar's mistake. People are blaming Mancini for that, which I think is weird because he had nothing to do with that. That was a mistake by the goalkeeper.
For which one? For the
Leverkusen game.
The Leverkusen one.
The one, the one, their first goal. I mean, that's not on Mancini. That's on Svilar.
Yeah, Svilar. But I don't want to say I told you so, but I called that as well. His handling in the first leg he made about 2 or 3 similar handling errors, and he got away with it in the first leg. And then this second leg, the same thing happened, and they conceded a goal. So Svilar's been fantastic, but if there's one weakness, there seems to be his handling. He seems to drop a lot of balls. So that's something that cost them. As good as Svilar's been, but Mancini, as good as he's been as well. I mean, the absolute state of that defending on that De Ketelaere goal. I mean, what the hell was that? That is as embarrassing defending as you'll ever see. He literally just walked past him. Didn't even do anything. Didn't even do any skill. He just literally cut in from his left onto his right without doing any skill. Just walked past him. He was nowhere near him. And then he just passed it into the net. I mean, that is as bad. I mean, that's made me question again about Mancini watching that goal. Like, we're saying, he's got to go to the Euros, maybe even start for Italy. And then I see that and I'm thinking, wow. Like, no defender can defend like that. That was so bad from Mancini. Maybe we can put it down to tiredness with him as well. Maybe
that's true. No, it is tired. I mean, it's been a difficult season for Roma, and it's. I really hope for Roma's sake they make the Champions League, because it will make the summer less bloody for them in terms of what they have to do financially. And I think De Rossi deserves, and Roma deserve, and I think Italian football needs a Roma who's in a better place financially and doesn't have to sell off all the furniture to survive. Because we need a good Lazio, we need a good Roma, we need a good Napoli. We need these teams to be competitive, and I really hope that Roma, if they make the Champions League, then of course they have to end the fiscal year on less, so to speak, because of in terms of less profit, so to speak, because there's more money coming in. So I really hope for Italy's sake that Atalanta can, because I mean we have 9 teams in Europe already now. We have 5 in the Champions League. So we've got 8 right now, 5 in the Champions League, 2 in the Europa League, and 1 in the Conference League. So if Fiorentina can win, that's 9, and if Atalanta can win, that's 10. That's half the Serie A, and I think I would love that. I really need 10 teams in Europe next season. I need this. I need Ivan Juric to play in Europe. I mean, I literally just want the entire Serie A to play in Europe.
You just want even Juric to be in Europe. In Europe, just admit that's what it's all about. It's just about
I need Juric to stay at Torino, and I need him to play. I need him to go far in the Conference League, and to win that with
0-0. I just want to see even Juric 0-0 his way to the Conference League final. That's what I want to see.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And I would love Belotti to. I mean, we'll see what happens with
talking about coaches who can't attack. Let's move on to Juventus.
Here we go.
Who are in the Champions League? They've qualified for the Champions League now officially, thanks to Atalanta, and not thanks to Juventus. I mean,
thanks to Atalanta.
This was
thanks to Atalanta that you have got 67 points
because they qualified for the Champions League. They would, if Roma had won, they wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League last night.
But it's not thanks to Atalanta. You can't say that after 36.
Thanks to Atalanta last night. It's thanks to them. If Atalanta had lost, Juventus wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League. That's why. Thanks to them last night.
God.
It wasn't thanks to Juventus. Juventus played Salernitana on Sunday afternoon. They just needed a win to qualify for the Champions League against a team that's already relegated, bottom of the table. They conceded 75 goals in 35 games. No clean sheet for 3 months. And they come to Turin and they nearly win. They conceded a 92nd minute equalizer to stop them winning. And this was just, I mean, there's been, I don't want to say it's the most embarrassing performance of the season because there's been so many, I wouldn't know which one to pick. But this is almost as bad. I mean, the first half is probably the most embarrassing half of the season. It was abysmal. They had a 0.13 xG at home to Salernitana in the first half. Just horrendous. The second half was they created enough chances in the second half, Juventus, but overall they can't even beat Salernitana. They draw 1-1 with Salernitana. I mean, it's just embarrassing. I don't even know what to say. No, it is. I mean, all I can say is I tweeted it out. I mean, Allegri has stolen. He's earned 27 million euros in the last 2 years. He has stolen 27 million euros. He doesn't deserve a penny.
So dramatic.
He does not deserve a penny of that 27 million euros. He should donate that money to charity. And he's about to steal another 9 million euros for next season, whether he stays or leaves, even with him likely to leave. He's going to steal another 9 million next season. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing. It is embarrassing, and the absolute
dramatic.
The state of
it's
this
so dramatic,
embarrassing.
Oh dear!
I mean, give us a take that isn't dramatic on that performance, Nima.
Because he's never stolen 27 million euros. That's the dramatic part. What are you on about?
27 million for doing nothing in 3 years. He's stolen 27
it's so
million.
Dramatic. It's so dramatic.
He should pay extra on that because he hasn't just stolen the 27 million. He's stolen more than that from the others.
Oh my God! You Juventus fans, as soon
have you ever watched
Money
Heist? Have you ever watched Money Heist? Casa de Papel.
Which Money Heist?
Casa de Papel.
Oh yeah. The Spanish Netflix show.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's a great show. It's a great show, and
it's a very good show. It's a very good. At
the end, it became a bit samey at the end, but yeah, it's a fantastic show, and they should make a new series. They should bring that back, and they should cast Allegri in it. And because they've all got names.
So dramatic.
They've all got city names, haven't they? There's like Berlin. There's Tokyo.
Yeah. So what would you call him? Turin?
Turin.
What would you call him?
I don't know, Turin maybe. Torino.
Oh my days!
Yeah, that should be Allegri.
No. Listen, it was a shit game, and Juventus have checked out completely, and it's obvious that Allegri's not going to be there next season. I think it's clear for anyone to see. I wonder if it's Thiago Motta or Antonio Conte. I'm not entirely sure who it's going to be, but one thing I am certain of is that Allegri ain't going to be there next season. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be there next season, and I think their only focus now is on that Coppa Italia final. I mean, they've completely checked out. I mean, if you look at their form in the Serie A, the last 5 games, it's 5 draws. It's goalless against Torino, 2-2 against Cagliari, goalless against Juve, Milan, 1-1 against Roma, 1-1 against Salernitana. They've completely checked out. This is Allegri when he just puts on the brakes and just puts it on the low cooker.
No. This isn't by design. This is dreadful form for second half of the season. This is 1 win in 10. This is 17 games since the Empoli game in January. 3 wins, 9 draws, lost 5. This is the second worst second half to a season in the history of Juventus. The history of Juventus is the second worst second half to a season. Another negative record, Juventus record under Allegri.
And yet he's in the Champions League and he's in the Coppa Italia final, and he could potentially win a trophy. I mean, this is the thing, though.
That's no achievement. Let me tell you that. That's no achievement.
Well, it is an achievement. It is an achievement. They've still this. How is it not an achievement to win a trophy for this side? I mean, if you look at the game itself at Salernitana,
it's not an achievement to qualify for the Champions League with Juventus. It's not.
Well,
it's not.
If you look at
with these numbers, he's got 67 points now. 2 games to go. It's looking very likely now that this is going to be the worst of the third seasons for Juventus under Allegri, and in a season where they're playing once a week. All 3 seasons short of even Pirlo's points tally. That absolute amateur novice that everyone.
Pirlo had a better team. Pirlo had a better team than Allegri has this season, and Vlahovic. I mean, I'm starting to think if it's this has been a step forward for him this season, but. In terms of goal tallies, and he's improved, but he's 24 years old now. He's not a kid. This is when he should be hitting goals. He should be hitting his prime. And you can't blame Allegri for him missing this many chances. You can't blame that on Allegri. That's on him.
I think it's a bit of both, but I think the bigger picture isn't just Vlahovic. It comes down to everything about how Allegri has just been incapable of developing any players in these last 3 years. He just hasn't, especially the attacking players, the midfielders and attackers. He just doesn't develop players. Vlahovic. I do think he's a bit better in his all-round game from when he comes to Fiorentina. Do I think he's a better player? Would I have rather had the Vlahovic of Fiorentina or the Vlahovic of now? And I don't really see much. I don't really see much improvement, if any improvement, right now compared to the Fiorentina.
I think you will need to ask.
And then you look at the others as well. I mean, Rabiot's. Oh my gosh! I know he scored at the end. That Rabiot performance. Oh my gosh! Every single pass. I haven't looked at the stats. He couldn't even put simple passes were going straight to the opponent, straight out of play. It was the worst Rabiot performance I think I've seen. I mean, everybody was going on about Rabiot last season. This season, back to the usual average, if not worse. Rabiot and Locatelli. Oh my gosh, so bad. He's been awful this season. Locatelli in the second half of the season, absolutely horrific. And you could go on and on and on. I mean, it's just so. I mean, listen, it's. And where were the Juventus ultras in this game? Another Allegri stayed banner. I didn't see any of them on yesterday. But I mean, listen.
No, they were. There was. They were. I mean, there was. This is why you can't have.
They're on a protest, aren't they, at the moment, the Juventus ultras? I mean, they've gone doing a silence. I mean, they're embarrassing. I mean, listen, Allegri will leave at the end of the season. But as I said last week, this summer. There's so many big jobs available around Europe. There's Liverpool. There's going to be Manchester United. There could be Chelsea. There's Bayern Munich. There was Barcelona until they realised they have no money, so they've had to stay with Xavi. There's Milan. There's Milan. There's Napoli. There's Fiorentina. There's lots of big jobs in Italy and all around Europe. Not one of these clubs has even considered Allegri, and he's not even being linked to small teams. So that says it all about the standing of Allegri in football now. Everybody realises that he's completely finished as a coach because there's no interest in him at all. Everybody knows he's going to leave Juventus and he's going to be available for a job. No one's even interested, not even being talked about as a possibility. So that says it all, really. Now it's just down to this Coppa Italia final. Juventus fans and Allegri especially, will, they need to win this Coppa Italia final just to salvage something, not just from this season, but to salvage something from these 3 years, because it's just been a total waste of time. These 3 years, total waste of time. In this season, I said at the beginning of the season, this season's a write-off. And but if they can at least win a Coppa Italia trophy, at least they've got something tangible to take. They've got nothing else to take from it, but at least something tangible to take. And that is, so now they've got to try and win this Coppa Italia. There's not much positives to give you hope going into it. Maybe Chiesa. I thought Chiesa was pretty lively. He's been good in the last 3 games.
Yeah, he will look lively.
He looked lively. That's good. And he got a bit of rest, so he should be fresh coming into this. I think, hopefully, from Juventus' point of view, Chiesa can bring it, and he usually does in the Coppa Italia. Hopefully, he can bring it in the final. And the second half, they created chances, Juventus. So hopefully, they can, at least chance creation can bring that against Atalanta in the final. But it is all down to this Coppa Italia final. This is the only thing that can salvage something from this really depressing last 3 years.
No, I mean, look, it's also been a last 3 years where Alexandro, we've seen these numbers of how much money he makes and the kind of money that Juventus have wasted on absolute dross. And a lot of those contracts are disappearing. And that has also been a part of why things have looked the way they have. And you've had the Paul Pogba situation, big money spent there, not got absolutely nothing from him. And you can go on for quite a few like that.
Just on that. Sorry, Nima, to butt in, but you make a good point there, because this summer Juventus can get rid of Alexandro, who I think is the 4th or 5th highest paid player in Serie A, off their books. Rabiot, who's very highly paid, off their books. And then Pogba, we'll see what happens there if they can, legally get rid of him and tear up his contract. So that'd be another one. And then Allegri, but it looks like they'll have to pay him for another year on huge salaries. I mean, this is the mismanagement from Juventus, paying these ridiculously high wages for players or coaches who are not worth it, who are finished. I mean, paying Sandro, a finished player, that money. Paying Allegri, a finished coach, that money. Paying Pogba, a player who was physically finished before they signed him. Anybody could see. Just look at the numbers that he was physically broken, and they give him that kind of money. So obviously that has had an effect as well. So it's the positives are that Juventus are in the Champions League now. They needed that money badly after not being in the Champions League this last year. They wouldn't have been able to cope with that. It would have been meltdown if Juventus weren't in the Champions League. So there's that, and now Juventus fans can look forward with a bit of hope for next season.
Well, they can, and one thing they're doing, which I think Giuntoli is, I mean, they brought in Thiago Motta on a kind of a free transfer in January, and they want to sell him on at a huge profit and bring in Calafiori. I mean, this is what Giuntoli is good at, the player trading, creating plusvalenza, actual plusvalenza, unlike the other one, who, well, we know what happened there. Inventing stuff and boasting on the phone that he runs 3 clubs and that it's all legal, writing contracts on cocktail napkins and God knows what. But it's the Giuntoli actually knows what he's doing. So this is what he's good at. So this is actually rather, I'm looking at all these wages disappearing. I'm looking at Chiesa, and I'm thinking, well, they can actually do something there, clearing off these wages. They can actually do something with Chiesa. They can extend his contract. They can build around him. They need to offload some other players like Timothy Weah and these players. Alcaraz, do they have to make a decision on him? Do they buy him? Do they let him go? And if they can bring in Calafiori, if they can bring in Thiago Motta, that actually gives Juventus something to work with for next season. I don't think there's going to, by any stretch of the imagination, Juventus are going to fight for the Scudetto next year, but they should finish in the top 4, and they should be able to start something to give Juve fans hope looking forward. And because this has been so toxic now for so long, that it's just not, you can't have a situation where players are feuding with the coach, half the stadium is feuding with the coach, the other half is support. I mean, it's just not, it's just not tenable. This is not tenable. And also, Giuntoli has come in, and he needs to be able to put his mark. Excuse me. He needs to put his mark and stamp on the project as well. Otherwise, what was the point in bringing him in? So it's
well, we'll
going
see.
to.
We'll see if the new coach is going to be Thiago Motta, Nima. And I mean, he has now confirmed Champions League football for Bologna after they win at Napoli, and then the Atalanta result coupled with that means that Bologna are playing in the Champions League. And first of all, we just have to say congratulations to Bologna and to Thiago Motta. What an incredible achievement from Bologna. People forget that actually they've won Serie A. I think they're one of the in terms of the list of champions in Serie A. They're actually quite high up the list. But it's been a long time, 60 years since they last won the Scudetto, and they haven't been a big team like in modern times. But they are a big team in Italian football, so we shouldn't probably be wrong to describe them as like a provincial team or minnows. It's probably the wrong description, but in modern times, I mean, it's
I think they're on the same level as Fiorentina. Like they're on the same level, like size-wise. Like, but they're a big team historically. But if you look at who they are, they're just under the Inter Milan, Juve, Napoli, Roma, Lazio in terms of fan size and following. They're there with Fiorentina and those sides.
Yeah.
But look, they've done absolutely fantastic. There's no doubt about that.
It's a miracle, really. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. It's a miracle to from where they come from.
I think a lot of people need to understand that he's not conceded very much. He's only conceded 27 goals all season. So if you're expecting to see Pep Guardiola take over at Juve, you're going to be mightily disappointed. He is about risk minimization. But the difference is that he, in the attacking phase, he's got much more to offer than Allegri right now. There's no doubt about that.
Well, the difference is that Motta, Bologna are, I think, second in Serie A for possession, if I'm not mistaken. Or they were the last time I looked a few weeks ago. I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that that's the case. So they keep the ball, they dominate the game, they dominate territory, and they've got fantastic, patterns of play to build their way. And that's one thing that winds me up the most about Allegri is they literally, there's just no build up. They cannot, if you give them the ball from the back, they cannot build their way up the pitch at all. It's just horrendous.
Yeah, but we also have to acknowledge that for big chances missed in the Serie A, Juve are top of that. They've missed 59 big chances, followed closely by Napoli at 57. So there is that aspect that both of these teams, have created but missed. And that is also, that's something we should,
Well, there's lots of underlying metrics we can look at. I did one a few weeks ago, which I can't remember when it was, about 3 weeks ago, where I went through a whole load of them, and that kind of told the story about how horrific Juventus' attacking is. So, but anyway, listen, we're talking about Bologna now, and what Motta has done is absolutely astonishing, and he hasn't played like a provincial coach either. Hasn't played like a team that are batting above its weight. They've played like a big team. They wanted to take control of the game. They wanted to dominate the game. And they play good football. They keep the ball. And their record against the big teams this season is absolutely insane. They proved to be a big team. They've now Napoli. They won this game, deservedly won this game, winning a draw against Napoli. They drew against Juventus. They beat Roma and Lazio, both those two teams home and away. Atalanta as well. Drew and lost against Milan. That loss was the first game of the season. They drew and lost against Inter, but they beat Inter in the Coppa Italia. And so, I mean, it's an incredible achievement. They shouldn't be. I mean, I said at the start of the season, I got laughed out by everyone, that I said that Bologna could qualify for Europe this season. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought they qualified for Champions League. I didn't. But they were thereabouts. To qualify for European competition was laughed off by the vast majority of people in Italian football fans. Because I remember I said it. I called it on this show. I said I think that Bologna have got a chance to qualify for Europe at the start of the season. That was my prediction, and that was seen as a wild call. That was seen as a hot take and mad. And most people were like, they're not going to qualify for Europe. And now here they are. They haven't just qualified for Europe. They've qualified for the Champions League. They've done it with 2 games to spare. And they've done it deservedly. And they're now in third place. And they're probably going to finish third. as well. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's done. I mean, he's overachieved so massively, and the development of players as well this season. I mean, Xerxes is his masterpiece, but this Calafiori, he maximizes and develops players, and that's something that, if he goes to Juventus, is going to be so important for their project as well.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. And I think it's the right move to do that, and for him to move away. Although I do feel before Bologna, because them going to the Champions League is going to be.
Well, that's the question.
I wonder who takes over.
How well can Bologna do in the Champions League next season?
It's way too soon to say, but we need to know who the coach is going to be. We need to know if Calafiori and Xerxes stay. We need to, we need if all three of them leave, they'll struggle to make, unless they find jewels, which Sartori can do. He is that good, but unless he does find little jewels and they can get the best out of the players they've got in the squad who they believe in, who've not done well, like Jesper Karlsson, then they'll have to bank on that. But it's going to be difficult. But I think it's way too soon to see anything. But they do have some interesting players.
I can't pretend, Nima, that I'm not worried for them, because listen, they're going to lose Motta. They're probably going to lose Xerxes and Calafiori. I mean, they have no control over Xerxes because of his, there's the release clause for Bayern, which might not be reactivated, or Bayern could, and they could sell him on. Who knows? But
then they get 40 million, so they're guaranteed 45 million, which is pretty good given that.
Of course. But they're going to lose all the pillars of their team. They're going to lose Motta, their manager, who is the most important of all. He's masterminded this. Zirkzee, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. They're going to lose Calafiori, and they're without Ferguson's done his ACL and is out until 2025. We're talking about their three best players and their manager. Even if you've got money to spend, and Sartori is a genius in the transfer market, and I'm sure he will do some good work. But we're talking Champions League here. We're talking about a team that already, let's be honest, there's no way this team is equipped to play twice a week, even with the current team, the current squad. There's no way they're equipped to play twice a week, and then they're going to have to replace all their best players and their coach, and after that, then try and build up a squad that's deep enough for the Champions League. I think it's going to be very, very hard for them next season. Very, very hard. Which is a shame. But listen, I don't
really. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I think, we should enjoy what they've done, because it is amazing. We don't get beautiful stories like this, and we should appreciate this beautiful story, really, and how amazing it is. That next season it's going to be hard.
I'm really interested to see who takes over after Thiago Motta. I mean, I'm looking at Vincenzo Italiano. If now that Stefano Pioli to Napoli is picking up steam, and we're looking at Conte going to either Milan or Juve, it's all kind of crystallizing. De Rossi staying at Roma, Tudor's doing a great job at Lazio. It's all kind of crystallizing itself, isn't it? And I'm thinking, when the dust settles, I think, and if Vincenzo Italiano is able to actually pull off something against Olympiacos, which he should be able to do, and win that trophy, that European trophy, given the profile that Bologna have, as I've been saying for a couple of months, I thought Italiano should have gone to Bologna 3 years ago when they appointed Mihailovic instead, because I think that's the right place for him to be at, in terms of also how good he is with improving youngsters. That makes more sense to me. If that, Italiano at Bologna makes more sense to me than it does. And also, it's a good little peak in the Champions League, because no one expects him to do anything in the Champions League with Bologna. But if this is the thing: if you have a chance to play in the Champions League, usually when you're with one of the big ones, they expect you to go through, right? With Bologna, no one is expecting Bologna to go through. So it's kind of, he's got everything to gain by playing in the Champions League.
I think Italiano could be a good fit, because he's also good at kind of developing players for his style, even if they don't necessarily fit. So he, with Sartori working there, he can probably get him the kind of players that will work for his system. It's going to be interesting to see how Bologna do. It's going to be a great story. It's their first time in the European Cup since 1964-65. They were knocked out in the preliminary round that year by Anderlecht. Do you know what the score was in that game, Nima?
Can't remember. No, I've read about it, but no.
Okay, they lost
100
that
years
game.
ago.
They lost that game. They lost that game on a coin toss.
Oh, wasn't that the season when they won the Scudetto on a coin toss as well? Like the following season, it was something crazy like that. Because I
They
remember reading something about
won
them
it in a
winning something.
playoff. I think they won it in a playoff against. Was it against Inter? It might have even been
I think it
against
was
Inter.
against Inter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
they
it was
won the
against Inter, yeah.
1964 Scudetto. Bologna did, qualified for the European Cup or former Champions League, and they I think
But there
I
was
think it was
something there was something about a coin toss
the
with
coin
them
toss.
as well. That they won it.
The most famous coin toss was they beat Inter 2-0 in the playoff. Own goal from Facchetti in the 75th minute, and then Harold Nielsen, former Denmark player, scored the second goal, and that got them into the European Cup. The most famous
You're
coin
probably
toss
getting mixed up.
was the Euro 1968
Yeah,
semi-final.
Italy won.
Italy beating the
Yeah.
Soviet Union on a double-sided coin.
Yeah, on a coin toss.
Right, let's move on though to Napoli. Napoli losing this game. Bologna deserved to win this game. It was another really abysmal Napoli performance, and all there is to say now really is that this season just needs to end. There's no point repeating ourselves. So the players talked about Juventus's kind of motivations. I think the Napoli players their heads have gone. The coaches go in, and everyone's Kvaratskhelia attitude and body language was awful in this game. That was the thing I took away from this game. Got booked for berating the ref. He just looked fed up. He looked fed up, Kvaratskhelia. And that kind of sums up, I think, Napoli now.
No, I've really got nothing more to add. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible season. Napoli really have a problem with penalty takers because Osimhen, Hvicha, Politano, they're just not good enough. And they just need the season to end, and they need to bring in the new sporting director, the new sporting organization. They need to appoint a new coach and then move on from there. There's really not much more to add.
Yeah, the only thing go on.
Given how well the Serie A has done, they're probably going to be in Europe anyway. The question is, if Fiorentina win, they'll be in the Europa League, or if they're in the Conference League. That's pretty much.
They're currently in 8th position, which will get them a Conference League position right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So they're in the Conference League position at the moment in 8th, but Fiorentina have 2 games in hand and are 1 point behind. So Fiorentina could go above them and go into 8th, and then if Fiorentina and Atalanta both lose their finals, then that means 9th place won't get a European place, will it? So Napoli could, right now, you would back Fiorentina to finish above Napoli, given they've got 2 games in hand. So there's no guarantee that Napoli are going to be in Europe next season, which will be just incredible, really. After winning the Scudetto last season, they've got 51 points from 36 games. I mean, the worst title defence in Serie A history, and it's not even close now. Milan now have clinched 2nd place in Serie A. They can't be caught by Bologna in 3rd or Juventus in 4th, who are 7 points behind Milan now. They thrashed Cagliari 5-1 in this game. So they ended their banned run. Milan had gone 6 games without a win, and they started without Leao, Theo Hernandez or Tomori, and they brought on Leao and Tomori at half time. But it really was the Pulisic, Rafael Leao show this game. Pulisic, first of all, Nima, scored 2 more goals. Great finish, I thought, for the first goal, especially after a really good play from Leao. He's got 15 goals now in all competitions and 9 assists. That's 24 goal contributions. I think that's really, really impressive. He now has 12 Serie A goals for the season, all of them from open play. And the only wide attacker, if we call it wide attacker, say somebody that plays like the right or left of a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, that's how I would describe a wide attacker, or an attacking midfielder like a 10, or someone in a attacker in a 4-2-3-1, central attacking midfield in a 4-2-3-1. The only ones that have more goals this season in open play is, there's only one, and that's Albert Goodmanson, who, to be honest, plays more in a front two, really. So I'm not even sure if we describe him.
Yeah,
So
front
we
two.
could probably say he has the most from his position from open play, and only 3 players in total have more goals, Serie A goals from open play than Pulisic. So he's had an incredible season as a whole in terms of his numbers. Pulisic, there's no doubt about that. But I think the only thing we need now from him next season for him to push on is we need to see this more in the Champions League. 'Cause I think he was pretty poor in the Champions League. I know he scored against Newcastle, but he was disappointing. And also in the big games, if you look at who he scored all his goals against, they're all pretty much against bottom half teams. I don't want to call him a flat track pulley, but he seems to get, but that is important though. Like, I don't want to use that as that's actually something that's important. You need players that will guarantee you goals and points against the small teams, because it will guarantee you so many number of points over the course of the season. If he wants to push on now, and if Milan want to move up to become a real Scudetto challenger and also do better in the Champions League, then that's where Pulisic needs to step up. If we look at as a first season, we have to say it's been very, very positive for Pulisic.
Incredibly positive. I think he's been, together with Reinders, their best player this season, consistently. I think he's been consistent throughout the season. He's had some dips, but they've not been that bad. And he's delivered, and he works perfectly in the system. And I think he's shown that, well, everything we predicted. I said in going into this season, I think he's going to be the first US men's national team player to become a star in one of the classic football clubs in Europe, and I think we're well underway to him becoming that. He's becoming someone who Milan look to be decisive. If you score that many goals, that's what happens. And next season is, well, exactly like you said, he's going to have to do that next season. He's going to have to improve and do that against the bigger teams and maybe hit 15, 20 goals. Doesn't have to score more goals, but he's going to have to do it against the big sides.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more
games. He has the 5th most assists as well in Serie A this season. He's not just scoring goals; he's making goals as well.
No, Pulisic has been outstanding this season, and I think I'm not surprised at all. I really think he's a good player. I think he's a decent. He's not the world class player, but he's just under there. But he works if you use him properly in the right system. And he came with the attitude that he knew that he had to prove himself at Milan, and he has done. And he reads the game really well. He understands where the ball is going to come, and he times his runs really well, and he's been really important for Milan. And I think together with Leao, the development that Leao has undergone this season, it's going to be important to have these two guys kind of firing on either side, because Milan have been too reliant on their left side. They have to do something about the right back situation, because Calabria is a absolute disgrace in terms of quality and off the pitch. The fact that he wears that captain's armband is an insult, not just to Milan fans, but to anyone who likes Serie A, because Milan's captains are Baresi, Maldini, not that guy. It's a disgrace, and they need to do something about that, regardless who the new manager is going to be. And if they do that, and if they replace Giroud properly, then Milan are in a very good place to push on and push for an actual title charge, because Milan are in a good place, and I think, like, overall in the squad. And so, no, I'm pleased for him. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what Milan do in the summer and who the coach is going to be, and
Yeah, I think Leao will also be interesting to see what happens to Leao as well. He was sensational coming off the bench. The play for the assist for Pulisic's goal, but also great one-on-one finish when he took on the goalkeeper, which I love to see, because that was like I used to love players, from my childhood, that used to take on the goalkeeper. And used to get quite a lot. They used to do it back when we were kids, Nima. That used to be, if you used to take on the goalkeeper, that was the class players used to take on the goalkeeper. I remember there used to be quite a few that used to do it. Like Careca used to do it. Used to be brilliant at it. Baggio used to be one of the best. He used to always Like he used to open up his body and then take on the keeper. Canu I used to love how Canu used to take on the goalkeeper, and then used to get like the kind of the speedier players that would take on the keeper, like Ronaldo, like the way he took on the goalie in the 1998 UEFA Cup final against Lazio, against Marchigiani, where he sent him for like 3 hot dogs. I mean, like I just love that. But you don't get players nowadays that take on the goalkeeper very much. It's so rare you get players. So when you see like Leao take on the keeper like that, it's really beautiful to see, and that just kind of shows like he has got these qualities that there's only a handful of players in world football, even less, that can do the things that Leao does. Hit the bar as well. I mean, he was devastating in this game, and it's just frustrating that he just doesn't have that consistency, and the game has to be set up for him in the right way for us to always see his best, and he just hasn't. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens to Leao next season, who the coach will be as well, like what they do with Leao. If Leao stays, how they will use Leao. But I mean, in this game,
well, for me, I think he will stay Leao, but I'm more concerned about the Mike Mignon situation. I think that is one that they need to resolve, given when his contract
I think he
ends.
could potentially go. Yeah, I do think he could potentially go. But then again, it also depends on what goalkeeper positions are open in Europe right now. That is the question. I mean, I'm looking in the Premier League, and I'm thinking Arsenal are not going to sign someone. Man City have got Ederson.
I'm looking at PSG, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm looking at PSG because Donnarumma and Luis Enrique do not mix. And I think Donnarumma...
But then they have to find a place for Donnarumma. He needs to move somewhere. They need to find a club for him, first before they can do that transfer. But yeah, PSG could be one. Bayern could be one because I think Manuel Neuer's 38, so maybe Bayern could be the biggest opening for him. I think, and I think he has.
I think Bayern or PSG. Those are the ones I'm looking at. Bayern and PSG.
Yeah, because I don't see anywhere in the Premier League. I mean, you could say Man United, but is he going to go to Man United? Like, who in their right mind would go to Man United right now?
No, and also
Chelsea needs someone. To be fair, Chelsea need a goalkeeper, but again, depends if you want
to go there.
If you want to go there, doesn't it? I guess money does talk, and that is the problem with him signing a new contract at Milan is the money. So
it's going to be interesting to see where Osimhen and Mignon end up. To be honest, if they, what happens with them. I mean, that's 2 things I'm watching.
Yeah, Osimhen. I do think Osimhen PSG. I do think Osimhen PSG, but let's see. It's going to be interesting to see because Milan, I think, will lose one of Maignan, Leao, or Teo Hernandez. I think will be sold this summer. I'd be surprised if it's just the way Milan do business. Now I will be surprised if they all stay. I will be surprised. Yeah. Okay, Inter very very quickly back to their clinical best. They smashed Frosinone for 5. I'm not sure if it finished like this, but I know when they scored their 5th goal, Inter had 5 shots on target and scored 5 goals, which was quite amusing. I thought it was a little bit harsh on Frosinone in this game. I thought it was a little bit unfair. I don't think they deserved to lose by 5 goals. But I mean, the players that I want to single out are Barella on the first 2 goals. Absolute genius pass to Fratesi in the second goal. I mean, Italy. This is the Barella. We need Barella like this in the Euros, man, because this was magical. I mean, he's now doing those touches of class. It's like he's probably sometimes unfairly seen Barella as this kind of like player that is just covers all the grass, is so energetic, does a bit of everything. But he's a
complete goal.
He has the touches midfielder. Of class.
He has everything. Yeah, he does. He has everything. That's the thing. He really is a complete midfielder. He's technically brilliant. His vision and creativity is fantastic, but he's also his tenacity, his work rate, he's a complete midfielder. He really is a complete midfielder. In many ways, he reminds me, everyone compares him to Stankovic, but I remember Lothar. This is Lothar. Lothar was this good. He could do everything in a midfield. He could dominate possession. He could create. He could shoot from far. His crossing was fantastic. His set pieces were brilliant.
Yeah.
He had the touch of class. He was tenacious. He could
I see
man-mark
more. I
players.
see
I mean,
more. Yeah, I see.
Lothar marked Maradona, for God's sakes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I see
it's
more of
just
a poor man's
so.
Mateus than I do Stankovic. I don't see Stankovic comparison at all
Yeah,
personally, but yeah,
no,
I
no,
see the
no. Same
Mateus.
here. I mean, for me,
Yeah,
it's Lothar.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's and
And
when
this is
he
why it
is
pisses me
able to
off, Nima.
express.
When this is why it pisses me off when he's given a tactical role, either for Italy or for Inter. Like when he's just played at right midfield, basically, and told to just play that role for the team. That he's way too good for that. Just let him free, unshackle him, let him do like what he did for these first 2 goals or for that second goal. Give him the
Well,
license of a freer role. I mean,
when you've got a brain dead footballer like Denzel Dumfries, and I use the term footballer very loosely here, on the right wing, which you have to think, run, and play for, then this is what
I still
happens.
disagree with it, though. I still disagree with it. I still think that Inter will gain more from, and Italy especially will gain more from freeing him up than from minimising the damage from another player for using him for that role. So I just think he's so good now, and he's in the peak of his career, and I just hope that he brings this to the Euros because he's world class. This is world class. This is a world class player. No, we can say that, right? We don't call
He
many.
is a world
We don't
class.
call many Italian players world class because there isn't many. But he is. He is our one outfield world class player. I think right now, probably the only one that you can say for definite is a world class player for Italy outfield. Donnarumma, maybe you could call a world class goalie, but he's fantastic. Yeah, and some interesting other points. Frattesi got a goal. Buchanan. Buchanan.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Buchanan got his first goal for Inter as well. Lautaro ended his goal drought, and even Sensi came on as well and was balling apparently.
Yeah, well, as he does. I mean, after
Was that
I mean, I don't
Inter?
know
Was
what
that
to
Inter
call Stefano
Twitter?
Sensi.
Was that Inter Twitter?
No,
Serie Ass?
yeah,
Who was
but
it?
I mean, Stefano Sensi is like the ultimate prick tease, isn't he? I mean, in football terms, it's just exhausting to watch him. It's just he has these fantastic moments and bursts of world class, and then he's a Ming vase which chips. You have to put him in behind a glass case, and I mean, I'm exhausted with it. It's such a shame because the talent and technique and ability is there, but he's just, it is what it is. I hope wherever he goes, I don't know, because if not even Inzaghi can find a way to keep him healthy and be able to play him and trust him, then I really don't know who can do it and where he goes. I really don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where Juventus can look at him and go, well, we can afford to have him as a rotation player.
No way.
Because
no one in their right mind is going to sign Sensi with his injury situation. I mean, there's just no one, no big
on low wages. Because I mean, look again, the quality is like when he is like his vision is like he is.
Oh,
unbelievable.
no doubt about that. It's a big shame. It's a big shame, really. It is.
It really is a big shame. And
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of, like I said, I'm tired of Italian talented players getting injuries ruin it. It's starting to, this is enough now with Zaniolo, Chiesa, Sensi. Like, can we please just have a bit of luck now? It's like enough.
But with Sensi, it's always been loads of niggles, really, rather than a
it's
serious injury, like, isn't it? It's always been lots and lots of little injuries rather than like a broken leg or an ACL. Like, has he ever done an ACL? Has he ever done his ACL? I off the top of my head,
No,
I don't even recall if he's ever done it. Had a serious injury. It's just been
No, it's muscle with him. It's muscle injuries.
Yeah.
But look, Buchanan. For me, the most positive thing is Buchanan because this is someone who Inter believe in, and Inzaghi's been really shoehorning him in on the left because he really believes in him on the left, which I think is interesting. Because that suggests to me that when they sell Denzel Dumfries, they'll buy someone for the right to start. And that's interesting because I like Buchanan on the left. The fact that he can cut in as opposed to Federico Di Marco, who can't cut in or dribble past anyone, but he's got a fantastic world-class left foot in terms of deliveries. Buchanan offers something else because it's clear they want to play Carlos Augusto as a left centre-back, rotating him with Bastoni. And then you got De Vrij, Cherby next season in the middle, and then you got Bisek and Pavard to the right. So of the back three, you got Darmian who can play everywhere, and then you've got the situation with Dumfries, and then you're like, okay, well, he doesn't want to extend. they're looking to cash in on him. And given that they only bought him for 12.5 million euros 3-4 years ago, that's kind of already been paid off. So it's all plus Valenza if they sell him for 2025. So it's good business if they can find a proper replacement for him, and the fact that Buchanan can play on the left as well and has been looking better, it makes me happy. It really does.
Yeah, Inter in a fantastic starting position for next season. There's no doubt about that. And they've got another clean sheet
with Zielinski and Taremi coming in as well.
Incredible. They're in an incredible position. Already red hot favourites for the Scudetto already now. Another clean sheet, best defence in Europe this season statistically. 19 conceded in 36. Real Madrid are the next best in Europe with 22 conceded, and then Leverkusen with 23, and they've got the most clean sheets as well in Europe. So big numbers there defensively.
21.
Yeah.
21 clean sheets in the Serie A.
Yeah, sorry, I meant 19 for
Sommer.
For Sommer, yeah, that's what I meant. Lazio win, just about beat Empoli, so they keep the pressure on the top six. I mean, they could definitely overtake Roma now. Obviously, this weekend is going to be massive for the sixth place, let's say, because Lazio go away to Inter and Roma play Genoa. I mean, you'd expect Roma should win against Genoa, but then they play Empoli away in the last game of the season. So that is a real Roman battle for that sixth place. It could go either way.
It really is. It really could. But the most important thing out of all of this is the fact that from spot 14 to 19 is only 5 points difference. Verona 34, Cagliari 33, Frosinone 32, Empoli 32, Udinese game in hand playing tonight against Lecce 30, and Sassuolo 29. I mean, we've only got 2 games left. This is madness. I see, and I'm looking. Okay, so Verona have got Salernitana away and Inter at home. A win against Salernitana should keep them up. You got Cagliari who play Sassuolo next weekend, and then you got Cagliari Fiorentina, the last game of the season. Frosinone have got Monza and Udinese at home in the last game. Empoli have Udinese and then Roma. And then you have Udinese who have Lecce, Empoli and Frosinone. I mean, they should be able to take 6-7 points from that and avoid this mess that they shouldn't even be in. And of course, you got Sassuolo, who got Cagliari at home, and then Lazio away. Yeah. I think Sassuolo are going down.
Yeah, they need a miracle, Sassuolo.
Yeah,
then it's really up for grabs in the other.
I can't shake off the feeling looking at these games. Unfortunately, Davide Nicola's miracle, between.
Well, listen, it's Udinese Empoli. That's going to be the decisive.
Well, tonight Lecce, Udinese playing Lecce. They have to win that game. If they do, they're on 33, and then they're 4 points clear of Sassuolo, which is a nice cushion to have, which all but relegates Sassuolo, if we're perfectly honest. Yeah. So that's really important. But it's just mad. The way this is going to happen, the way this is playing out, is absolutely
it is mad.
crazy.
It is mad. We will talk about it more for sure on next week's show. Coppa Italia final. We're not going to have time to preview this now because we've gone way over. But Atalanta Juventus on Wednesday. Scamacca is suspended for Atalanta. Locatelli is suspended for Juventus. It's going to be a huge game. We will do a reaction to that. After the game.
But I'm going to tell you why. Atalanta, why I think Juve are going to win this. And it's because Allegri knows how to be a party pooper tactically in finals. He knows how to do that. And he knows exactly how Atalanta play and how they attack and what their weaknesses are. And there are weaknesses. And he's going to maximize that. And even if there is some sort of a rift in the dressing room, it's a final, and players at this level want to win. And without Scamacca, that's a huge drop off for how Atalanta play and how they attack. So I really think that Juve are going to win this final. It's not going to be
Scamacca's a big blow, and Juventus can certainly win this final. There's no reason. It's a final. Finals are finals. But it's certainly nothing to do with Allegri. I mean, is because Allegri.
Yes, it is to do with Allegri. You're going to have to.
Yeah, but you're basing that. This is. Sorry, Nima, I'm not taking it out on you, but this irritates me. Right. You're basing your logic on something Allegri being good in final 7 years ago. It's irrelevant.
No,
the last 3 years has shown
he's still good at that.
When he hasn't won anything in 3 years, so you're basing it on his first spell, which is irrelevant now. This is what needs to stop about Allegri. It's got what he did in his first 30 minutes is completely irrelevant to what he's doing now. Otherwise we can talk about Mourinho and what he did in his before. We can talk about Fabio Capello being amazing. We can talk about Ernst Happel in the 1980s. What they did in the past is irrelevant to what they're doing now. So. Juventus, I think, can win this final. There's no, they've got, they can win it. It's a final, and Scamacca is a huge blow. But then I do think Locatelli, as bad as he's been, I think that probably Atalanta have more possible replacements for Scamacca in terms of depth than Juventus do for Locatelli. That would probably be fair to say. Would you say? I mean, who comes in for Locatelli? Probably not.
They got Lookman and
yeah.
I mean, Atalanta got Lookman, they can play Il Bilartore, but I mean, I look at Juve and I'm thinking, yeah, Locatelli missing that is a blow for them, but given that how they're going to play, I don't think it's that much of a blow either.
No, it's I expect defend anyway.
Allegri to shit house the shit out of this. Like, if Juventus it's going to be, I think it's going to be the most Allegri win of all time.
I'll say one thing. What I'll say is this: from Atalanta's point of view, my concern is for them is the same as the concern that I had for Fiorentina before the Inter Coppa Italia final last year. Which was the Coppa Italia final before the Conference League final last year as well?
Yeah, it was.
Did Fiorentina play Inter before they? Yeah. So my concern is that
they did.
That Atalanta kind of need to win this game against Juventus, not just to win a trophy, which they so deserve after everything they've done, but also I fear that if they lose this final to Juventus, then psychologically going into that Leverkusen final, it's like I think that they're going to lose that final as well. So I think it's almost going to be like if they want to win that Conference League final, they have to win this game. They have to.
I look at it. I think there's I see what you're saying, but my look at it like this, that I want them to view the Juve final as a dress rehearsal for the Europa League one. Because in the sense that they have to be ready mentally, in the sense that they know that how Juve are going to play. They need, in the sense that they need to be clinical. They can't create 100 chances against Allegri and score one and then wonder why they lost 2-1. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. You need to be clinical. So I view this as a dress rehearsal for the actual one, which is the Europa League final. And I don't think anyone in the world, as much as I think Xabi Alonso, what we're seeing, his breakthrough this season is probably the most interesting and fascinating breakthrough of a coach since Mourinho's Porto side won the treble with Europa League and everything in Portugal. It is it's a fascinating career managerial breakthrough this season in Europe, the way that they've won, not losing a single game all season. They can actually still win the German Cup and end the German domestic season with 0 losses, which is unbelievable, invincibles. And if they were to do it in Europe as well, that would just cement him as this is the next big thing in European football in terms of a manager. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at Atalanta and I'm going, don't I'm not saying burn it away, but I'd rather they focus on the Europa League and try to learn how to handle that and study that game more. Because the Coppa Italia final, they can reach that next year, but they can't reach a European final next year. That's a bigger long shot.
Yeah, listen, I think they have to win a trophy. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game anyway. Let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So Baggio, I've got 2. First of all, I'm always very critical of Serie A and their ridiculous campaigns that are always badly executed. But I actually like the one that they did this weekend, the initiative of Mother's Day, putting the names of the mothers on the back of the shirt. I actually thought that was really, really lovely, and I thought that was a really, really good idea, and I thought it was well executed as well. And that is very rare for you to say that. It was a simple idea, but it was executed really well, and I thought it sent out a good message, and I really liked it. I thought it was innovative and something that I haven't seen done before. So I like that. And also Como going up to Serie A as well, which is also a really nice story as well.
I love that. First time since 2002. Yeah, first time since 2002.
Welsh manager.
A Como who've been through. Yeah, O'Shan Roberts. Yeah, I mean they've been through footballing hell and back. They were, after 2002 and how they were relegated down down the tiers, and coming back up again. And O'Shan Roberts, when he took over, I think it was in December, and he was a caretaker manager, and the way that he managed to turn everything around, and Cesc Fabregas and Thierry Henry, and like the way that they're doing it is just so
Jamie Vardy
it's
as
so
well.
Nice to see it.
Jamie Vardy was there as well. Yeah, it was quite interesting. They are well backed though. Their owners are very, very rich, very, very rich. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of investment they put into the club going into Serie A next season. I have no idea if they plan to invest big or not, but they have the money. Like, they are multi-billionaires, the owners. Premface of the week. I've got a couple here. First of all, from our Patreon, this was sent in by Claudio Calzaruccio, who's a fellow Bedford boy. He sent in, he said, I was listening to Drive Time on Talk Sport today, and there was a classic discussion between Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent. They were debating whether Kylian Mbappe is overrated because he had never scored.
Here we go.
He had never scored in a Champions League semi-final. Goldstein said that he is overrated. Bent said that he'd rather have Declan Rice in his team.
Oh, go away.
And then he said that it got better because the listeners then started calling in, and they were like taking it to the next level. And one listener said that the English Championship, is a better level than Liga. So we can't talk about how good Mbappe is until he leaves Liga. I mean, it's just the levels of insanity are at a new high, he said. I mean, 4 goals scored in 2 World Cup finals, Best player in the World Cup, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I mean, for hat trick in a World Cup final. Look, it's getting ridiculous now. I mean, it's like, this is nonsense. The Premier League had one team in the semi-final of the European Cups this season, and it was Aston Villa, who got there via a penalty shootout in the Conference League. So you have the most money, yes, you have the best players, the best coaches, but you're not delivering the results. So maybe, take a chill pill.
Yeah, and also another common
of people being overrated.
Yeah, and another one is that I seem to hear this every single year with Real Madrid. We hear it it's just like a staple of the Premface diet, and that is Real Madrid win the Champions League or get to the final, and it's this: Madrid are not even a good team. Man City should have beaten them, and Paul Scholes said those exact words again. And he said Bayern Munich were better than them. Did anybody watch watch
Bayern Munich,
the Madrid against Bayern? Madrid battered them. They should have won 5-1. They had chance after chance after chance. They happened to score 2 late goals, like they always do, because they always seem to score late goals. But they absolutely destroyed them. Nobody watching that game, they were saying, "Oh, it's defensive masterclass," and all this. They were saying the same thing about Dortmund when PSG battered Dortmund. They had an XG of 4 in the game. They battered them. They absolutely battered them. They just didn't put their chances away. It's like these people, they watch another sport. They really do. I mean, the funny thing is that they were all praising Dortmund for a defensive masterclass. Yet when Madrid kind of, just about beat City, when City, had 70% of the possession, actually didn't have that many clear chances, they were saying that Madrid were lucky. So it's like, which one is it? It's the bias is unreal. But the Premface, and then the third one was, I got sent this yesterday. This was hilarious. So CBS were showing the Old Firm derby between Rangers and Celtic, and I think Celtic were 2-1 up at half time, and then CBS was showing highlights of the first half at half time. Only for some weird reason, they were showing highlights of 3 goals that were in a previous Old Firm derby, so not from the actual game that was on at the time.
God,
I love that.
Jesus Christ.
I love that. That's so good. So good. Yeah. Serie Ass of the week, Nima. Assuming you don't have a Premface. Did you see this Juventus
No,
influencer?
the Mbappe thing is something I saw as well, and so no, I don't have
Yeah.
one. But
Serie
for
Ass.
me,
Serie Ass.
yeah, the Serie Ass is that this that create. Sorry, but that hype post on Tommaso Baldanzi getting fouled. What was that?
Yeah. The Serie official Twitter account.
What am I looking at? And why am I? It's just what was special about that? Like it was just.
They do this all the time. The Serie A Twitter account. They put like
I know.
They put photos with like no emotion or no that tell no story at all, and then they put then they hype it up. You know, so it's like I remember they did that. They did a photo of like this female fan in the crowd, and like she was just sitting there with no expression. And then they put a caption of like oh, this fan is having an amazing time or something. Like it's like
they're such a walking own goal, this lot. And it's like it's just for me it's the number one WTF account on Twitter and on football Twitter is the Serie A English account. It's just it makes no sense. Who is running it? I want to know who runs it.
No,
if
so
they put
I.
this out on like on some company running it, I want to know who it is. Like what are they thinking? It's always like that's the reaction from everyone. It's like
It's not just Serie A. It's other
literally
clubs. The clubs are putting out this stupid online content as well. We said about Inter putting out that stupid tweet on balling for Sensi, which was really random. The kind of thing Serie A took. But the Juventus took it to another level. I mean, this Juventus influencer before the Salernitana game, you're in the worst run in history, second worst run in history for the second half of the season. Like, just read the room, guys. And then you put out this teenage influencer who is acting like a child, and she's standing there and she's high-fiving all the...
in a bikini.
I don't know what she was wearing. I don't think was she wearing a bikini? I don't think was she wearing a bikini?
It's a bikini and jeans.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's a Juventus shirt turned into a bikini.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean...
it's so
yeah,
cringe.
I mean, I'm not even that fussed with what she's wearing so much, even though, yeah, you could probably pick up on that as well. But, like, she's acting like a little kid. It's really infantilizing, and it is just like...
Of course
it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And they do this and they push this out before important game to qualify for the Champions League against Salernitana on the bottom of the league, and then everybody obviously sees it, during and after the game, after just like such an embarrassing performance and result, and it's just like, is this what we're doing? And I've had a few tweets from people who are just like in the industry that even that work with Juventus, and they're just like, what the hell is this? And it's just like, it just sums up it sums up where journalism is going, but it also just sums up Italian football, Italian teams, the Italian league. When it comes to marketing their league, when it comes to their brand, they just haven't got a clue. They're just clueless. They just don't get it. And the way I described it is they pick up the way that Italians market now, the way that they're trying to do this modern marketing is they pick up on some general truths about the modern world when it comes to branding and when it comes to marketing. And I'll give you a few examples. America. Everybody knows you've got to break America if you want to be successful with a world marketing campaign, for example, in sport. Then there's influencers. Everybody knows that influencers now, unfortunately, are a way to build your product is you use influencers. And then there's these social campaigns. You want to kind of if you want to call it virtue signaling, I would call it virtue signaling on some stuff. There's no real substance to it. Whether it's racism, whether it's diversity, whether it's equality, whatever it is, you want to be seen to be doing something, right? even if it means just putting something that actually has no impact. Like, for example, the anti-racism campaign where you just put up a message saying no to racism, which is just a message and actually does nothing, but at all. So you want to be seen. So there's these things are general truths, right? So, but then Serie A try and do something about these three things, but they execute it so badly because they haven't got a clue how to do it, and that's where you get like what's going on with the American stuff, like which is just embarrassing. And what you get with they're trying to use an influencer now, and this is what they do. This is how they execute it, and it's just embarrassing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say there? I don't know if I've described it very well, but they take these general truths, but they haven't got a clue how to actually execute it at all. And it just becomes it just ends up being embarrassing. Apparently, Juventus have this creator lab for like influencers now, that they just kind of invite them to come and create content like what this woman is doing, and it's just like, what is this?
Yeah, it's so cringe. It really is cringing. You see how she's standing there like a 3-year-old. It's really embarrassing, to be honest. Yeah, it really is.
It's so dumbed down as well. It's so dumbed down as well.
It really is. It really is, and it treats the
like, hey, fight, guys, like hey,
it's so embarrassing.
Anyway, let's leave it at that.
We've seen it before, but it's not the first time. They've had this cringy attenzione nonsense for quite some time. If you know, you know. But it literally is low IQ stuff. It's infantilizing, like you say, and it's embarrassing, really. And I hear what you're saying.
I'm not having a go just at Juventus here, by the way. That this is across the board Italian football. They haven't got a clue. Juventus are trying to be above the curve. Juventus are trying to get ahead of the curve with this kind of, like you said, the low IQ stuff, because they think that this is a way to.
No, it's the low IQ.
They think this is the way to attract the young audience. They think this is the way to attract the young audience. That's what they're trying to do here. There's conquering America, and then there's conquering youngsters. Maybe call it. It's conquering kids. Like it's what they're calling it. Like,
conquering the young. Yeah, conquering the Americans are coming to save us. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Right, let's leave it at that.
It is. Let's leave it at that. Everything you said. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, let's leave it at that, guys. We'll be back for the Q&A on Tuesday, and then later in the week for a midweek show. Until then, ciao.
Yeah, and then also, just one thing. And then next week, just to give everyone a heads up. So this week we're doing Tuesday Q&A, and then Thursday we're talking about the Coppa Italia and other things. And next week we'll be doing the Monday pod on Tuesday, just so everyone knows, because I'm going to be in Italy too for the Inter Scudetto party, and also because there's big games being played on Monday. So next week the Monday show will be on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao.